Oh, hello, and welcome, world language teachers, to Spill the Tea in 10 minutes. We are here live, as we always are, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Bring your bevy, because it's time to roll. So if you are new around these parts, my name is Devin, and I am the teacher, author, consultant, and creator behind La Libre Language Learning. And if you are trying to make your journey to teaching with proficiency-oriented instruction along the lines of comprehensible input, teaching with CI, a lot more practical, then you're in the right place, because that's what we do here. Now, this series is a quick rapid fire Q&A style, and that's why it's called Spill the Tea in 10. So today I've got matcha with me because I'm trying an experiment at home to see if I can make good matcha at home. So far, it's like, okay, we're working on it. But tell me in the comments below what you've got. And what we're going to be working on today in our quick 10-minute Q&A is this question. Are you ready? So I got this from a conference that we held this summer, Practical and Comprehensible. It's a free conference. Come join us every year. It's real great. But Samantha asked this year at the conference, pronunciation, really tough in a CI classroom. I work on it and I correct it, but I can't get my students to care enough to work on it themselves. And I think this is a really good topic for us to talk about as world language teachers, because everybody wonders, what do we do with pronunciation? Like, should we talk about it? Should we never talk about it? Should we drill it till it's dead? Like, what do we do? So let's talk about it. Oh, what an interesting topic, right? Pronunciation. It doesn't matter what language you're teaching, pronunciation is important. So the question then becomes, how important is it? How much emphasis should we be putting in there? If you are joining me live, do me a huge favor and let me know that everything's working okay. I'm just going to check real quick and make sure that it is. It is. Yay. Good. All right. We are set. All right. So let's get rolling, y'all. Let's talk about pronunciation. Tell me, what's the role of pronunciation in your classroom? How do you usually handle it? Do you like to put a huge emphasis on it? Maybe a medium, maybe large emphasis? I have some ideas for you, Samantha, and anybody else who is wondering, what on earth should you do about pronunciation? Here is my first idea. Well, it sounds to me, Samantha, like in your style of teaching that pronunciation is really important to you. So my first question to you is, why? What are your goals? And what level are you trying to get your students to? And where are they currently? When you can answer those questions, you'll have a much better idea of what to do with pronunciation in your class and how much of a role it should have and what that should look like on a day-to-day basis, as well as ideas for how your students can be more invested in it. But when you answer those questions for yourselves, why is pronunciation so important to you? So sit and think for just a second. Give yourself a gut check. Why is pronunciation so important to you? What comes up for you? That will be really telling about what is going on with practice on a daily basis. And the next thing I want to ask is, what level are your students, quote unquote? Because I would really argue that levels are kind of meaningless in a middle school, high school classroom because of so many different factors in the American school system. I can't speak for other places, but from my teaching experience, mostly pre-COVID and a little bit post-COVID, I now do this full-time behind the scenes supporting y'all, but levels weren't really that much of a guideline anyways. But now, since we are especially in a post-COVID world and living in that every day, levels don't really give us that much guidance for what should be going on in our classrooms anyways, because everybody is so all over the place and so behind in so many different ways that the levels don't really give us that much guidance. But giving it a little bit of a grain of salt, like for example, if you're teaching a level 2 class and you're trying to get them from novice mid to novice high, what role should pronunciation really have for you in that class? So I would argue, with all things with teaching, going off of your own personal experience or what other teachers are doing in your building or what you think is best is actually not really enough in your classroom. So I got us some help. Check it out. If you've never been around these parts before, I will tell you that as my style is very much, I'm all about, we need to be doing more than that and looking for other answers for our classrooms. So I've got something to help us out here. I looked at, and I'm going to get us to, hold on just a second while I move this out of the way. I'm going to get us to something to help us. Hope you can see my screen here. Looks like we're good. You guys have been chilling with my freeze frame for a second. That's hilarious. So this that you're hopefully seeing on your screen now, let me know if you can see it properly now. Looks like we're good. Is the ACTFL proficiency guidelines from 2012, because I thought let's use this as a guideline for us on that question of how important should pronunciation really be in our classes. So if you're in the typical level 1, level 2, maybe even level 3, because let's be honest, there's a lot of novice highs in level 3. Let's take a look at, well, what does ACTFL say about pronunciation? So this is what I found. When it comes to pronunciation, this is really interesting and juicy just on its own, but since we're in a 10-minute class, right here is highlighted. Pronunciation, vocabulary, and syntax may be strongly influenced by the first language, aka read illegible, unintelligible. Like they're going to be saying things like, right now, my 6-year-old son is really into watching all that and reliving moments from my 90s kid childhood. And you know what's happening in there? It's it's that hilarious kid reading the French, and he can't read the French at all. Like I am a French teacher and I have no idea what he's saying because his pronunciation is atrocious, and it's so funny. It's so funny. So I mean, yeah, that's what you're going to be getting at novice mid and novice high. It's not unintelligible on the level of like Keenan and Kel, but it's up there. It's up there. So if we're working with what it says here in ACTFL, frequent misunderstandings may arise, but with repetition and rephrasing, novice high speakers can generally, not all the time, be understood by sympathetic, aka teachers, language parents, people used to travelers. They're used to non-natives. Should we be focusing on pronunciation in levels 1 and 2? Nah, honestly, nah, not really. So your time in class is much better suited towards the things that matter the most, getting your students highly invested in the language learning process, making sure that they're really, really, really dug into all of their high frequency structures and being able to create meaning with the least amount of words possible, because then it will stick in their minds, that they are just so enamored with the culture that they want to take this class all the way up till level 5. That is your most important mission. I am not by any means saying that pronunciation isn't important, but according to what we've got with our guidelines here, it's not the most important thing. So if you're struggling with getting your students to buy in, maybe it's not the hill that you die on this year. It sounds like you got a lot bigger fish to fry. I would also say too, that if, I get it that everybody has their thing that they really, really care about. Like maybe it's spelling, or maybe it's accents, or it's pronunciation, just because like your ears bleed every time you hear someone say Jamapoli. Like that to me is like, whatever, I'm used to it. But if somebody says, Jamapoli instead of Je m'appelle, and you are dying on the inside, cool, I get it. I understand. Don't spend all of your time on it, but instead of trying to get your students to care about it by correcting them, have you tried the carrot instead of the stick? This is my suggestion for you. So if you are trying to get more buy-in and investment for your pronunciation, maybe you're level 3s or 4s, or you really just can't stand hearing any more of, me lamo anymore, then try this, because this is very effective, especially in level 1 classes. Not with everybody, but it will certainly work with the kids who want it. Give them crazy amounts of bonus points for good pronunciation. So on your next speaking quiz, by the way, if you're not doing a ton of speaking quizzes, that's the real deal to make sure that pronunciation is a big part of your program, because grades are the currency in your classroom. So whatever you grade, students get the message really quickly that that's what you care about. So they will, if you're doing more written quizzes than speaking quizzes, it doesn't really relay the message as effectively that speaking and pronunciation are the things that are really important to you in your program. So add more speaking quizzes. Make sure that speaking assignments and listening are a big part of what you're doing every day, and that your assessments also have room and specific language in your rubrics that talk about the power of, ooh, my lights have they've been caught a little bit by the spirit right now, so don't even worry about that. It's not a haunted house, okay? We're not communing with the upside down. It's fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. That in your rubrics, you've got specific language that talks about the value of pronunciation, that gives them bonus points even, or maybe even allows them to, if they made some mistakes on previous areas, they can make up for those points in their rubrics if they have spectacular near native pronunciation. They love that kind of stuff. I would also say too, that something that you can do is you can give priority treatment to students who care about their pronunciation. So for example, there are those games that your students love and request a million times, and that they would definitely benefit from, like if they went first or if their team went first, blah, blah, blah. And so whenever there's something where you have to make a decision in class or a tiebreaker, that kind of situation, like, okay, we need to pick our next game for what we're going to do. Whoever can pronounce this word the best, y'all get to choose. And making correct pronunciation your emphasis, and the way that you just like the way that you reward people in your class, like giving the carrot instead of the stick, that will work wonders for making sure that you are emphasizing the value of pronunciation in your program. Try those things and see how they work. But I would also remind you that depending on what levels you are working with, that pronunciation is not the focus of where they are at, that meaning and input is always going to be queen of your program. With that being said, that brings us to the end of our Spill the Tea in 10. I think we made our time. I'm feeling really good about that. So did you like this? Was it helpful to you? If it was, share it with a teacher friend who needs to know. We do this every Wednesday at 4 p.m. in this group, and I would love to see you here live for the next one. Let me know what other topics that you would like to talk about. Do you have feelings about pronunciation? Do you have questions? Put it in the comments below, because I would love to hear it and see what your thoughts are on this super interesting topic. I will catch you next time, same place, 4 p.m. EST every Wednesday. See y'all then. Adios. Hasta la próxima. Au revoir.